Hey, what is going on guys? RZ Stealth here, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at some new underrated sleeper OP champs for patch 8.22. So first up here is going to be a pretty interesting jungle pick, Echo Jungle, that is being played quite a bit right now over in Europe by a few high elo and pro junglers. Pride is the one that has been playing it the most over in Europe, and he's been having a lot of success with it in this patch. So you run the Dark Harvest on the Echo Jungle and you build him pretty much the same that you would build mid lane Echo. However, you are obviously going to go for Runic Echoes as your first item, then into Proto Belt and then into Lichbane. And once you do reach the mid to late game, by taking the Dark Harvest on this Echo Jungle, you just become a monster. Your one-shot potential with the Dark Harvest is insane. You pretty much half health a target with 1 E there once you get your Lichbane and once you have a Dark Harvest proc ready. So the early game is definitely a little bit weaker for this jungler, and he can get abused in the early game by some of the stronger early game junglers. But if challenger junglers can make the pick work in this patch, then you can definitely make it work in the lower elos. I think that you can have more success with this pick in the lower elos because you're not going to be punished as hard in the early game by some of these stronger early game junglers. But if you can get past your early game with this pick, get your Dark Harvest stacks going, then you just do an insane amount of damage in the mid game. So next up here is going to be a mid lane pick, and it's going to be Pike mid. So Pike mid is a pick that I expected to be on the rise here in 8.22. It is still a very niche pick right now in the mid lane. Not a ton of people are picking it up, but the people who are picking it up are having a lot of success with it in 8.22. So the reason to why this pick got stronger in the mid lane for 8.22 is because his abilities got changed to where they now scale with lethality. His W, his E, and his ultimate all scale off of lethality now. So this is a lot better for solo lane Pike because you're going to be generating a lot more gold on solo lane Pike. So you're going to be able to get your lethality items a lot sooner than you would on support Pike. So how you're going to make this pick work in this patch is you're going to play it similar to Talon mid. Once you do get your Tiamat and your Moby boots, you don't really want to be interacting with the enemy laner. You want to be shoving the wave in and just looking to go for roams and influence the map. Now because Pike, you are going to be rushing Moby boots and you also have your W, which gives you a lot of movement speed, you don't actually need to run Predator on Pike mid. I know that originally some players were running Predator on Pike mid, but it's not really needed. Going for the Electrocute is going to give you a little bit more consistent damage because it is on a much shorter cooldown. For the build path on Pike, Duskblade is doing a little bit better as a rush item than Youmuu's. You don't necessarily need the active on Youmuu's as a rush item because you're already going to have Mobies, you're going to have your W, so you're going to be able to get around the map quick already. So just getting the extra damage from Duskblade is going to make your one-shot potential stronger in the early game. After your Duskblade though, go for the Youmuu's and then grab the Edge of Night as your third item, and with those 3 lethality items on Pike, you're going to do an insane amount of damage, and your abilities are going to be stronger in this patch due to the fact that they now scale with lethality. So if we take a look at a top lane pick now, this one is going to be Swain top lane with Kleptomancy. So this pick is kind of similar to the Victor top lane. It's having a lot of success right now with Kleptomancy, and Swain is also having a lot of success into similar matchups that Victor's thriving against for 8.22. So Swain is actually a pretty good answer to the Victor pick in the top lane. It is a ranged top lane pick, so you're not going to get like bullied super hard in the laning phase by the Victor, and you are going to be able to hold your own in the laning phase. He also does pretty well into most other just melee top laners, especially does really well into any tank top lane pick. So if you can get a matchup to where you can just stack your Klepto in the lane with Swain, then you're going to accelerate your build path. Once you get Rod and Zhonya's on Swain, you just become an insane teamfight top lane champion. Your presence is really good compared to most other top laners, and you do scale very well into the mid to late game as Swain. So running the Kleptomancy on him just allows him to reach that point a lot sooner. So another niche top lane pick that is really well into a lot of the most picked top laners right now is Lissandra. So Lissandra, like the Swain, does pretty well into Victor right now. She can very easily match him in the laning phase and do pretty well in that 1v1 matchup. She's also a great pick into things like the Akali, Fiora, Riven, Aatrox, Yasuo, any champions that need to dive onto you to deal their damage. Lissandra's just a great pick because especially once she hits level 6 and come team fighting. She just does a great job at shutting down those champions, and in the laning phase, if those picks do want to try to jump onto her and try to trade, then you just use your W, you proc your aftershock, and they can't really do any damage to you, and you can just kite them out really well in lane. She is also one of the safer top lane picks as well. I think that Lissandra for both the mid lane and the top lane right now is one of the most low risk, high reward champions that you can play. She's got a strong laning phase, she has good bully potential in the laning phase, and she also has great survivability as well. The fact that her E is just such a long range gap close ability allows her to play aggressive in the laning phase. Even if you do shove up and you don't have a ward, with Lissandra's E, you're going to be able to avoid a lot of ganks in the early game, and it just allows you to pressure really well and use your advantage in the laning phase. So Maokai support is a pick right now that I think is very undervalued down in the bot lane. Maokai support does a great job against a lot of these most pick supports for 822. Right now we have Thresh, Pike, Rakan, Alistar, Leona as some of the most pick supports right now, and these engaged supports just can't do a ton against Maokai in the laning phase because Maokai's ability to peel for his AD carry, his ability to disrupt those champions when they're trying to engage and trying to make plays is really good. Now I know that previously when Maokai support was meta for a while, a lot of players would be building AP Maokai and going for an E max on him, but what's doing best right now on Maokai support is just going for a tanky build, going for a Q max first on him, and not really going for this AP build. You can still go for the E max and the AP build on Maokai, but the most consistent build right now on him is just building him like a tank support and being a really good disruptor and peeler for your team. Maokai also does have one of the strongest level 2 all-ins, and he's got some of the strongest gank assist in the game for any support. So if you're playing with a jungler, especially like a Camille or a Xin Zhao or just any jungler that can level 2 gank, then I'd recommend communicating to your jungler, let them know that they should come for level 2 gank bot lane, because if you start your root at level 1 and they come in for that gank, then you're almost guaranteed to get first blood. And especially if you hit like level 2 and you have your W and your Q when your jungler is ganking, then the amount of setup you have with Maokai support and the amount of kill pressure in the laning phase is extremely good. And then an AD carry pick that's been on the rise for these past few patches here is Ashe. Ashe did end up getting buffs in 821. She got a quality of life change to her E, and then I'm pretty sure her passive also got buffed. I think that also due to the meta right now down in the bot lane and due to just a lot of these really aggressive supports being played, it makes Ashe an even stronger pick right now because her all-in potential at level 6 is really good if you've got her paired up with a Thresh or an Alistar or a Rakan. So I just think that overall Ashe is a pretty strong pick in the current meta, and she's definitely underplayed for 822. If you take a look at what's being played a lot in other roles as well this patch, it even makes Ashe a better pick because right now in the top lane you have picks like Urgot, Darius, Jax, and Victor who are played a lot in this patch, and those champions don't really have very reliable engage. For the mid lane right now you have picks like LeBlanc, Kassadin, just a lot of these assassins being played, and Ashe just allows these champions to succeed a lot more because those champions don't really have the best engaged tools. With the Ashe arrow though, it allows you to find picks. If you can find a pick with Ashe for your assassin and your assassin can just go in and finish them off and burst them out, then it just makes the pick that much better for this patch. And then lastly, to round out the video is going to be a pick that I definitely did not expect to get that much stronger in this patch, but it's Nunu Jungle. So Nunu Jungle got 2 changes for this patch. He got a buff to his base AD, and he also got a buff to his healing from his Q when he uses it on champions. Now this is the change that I think is making him stronger for this patch here, because the Q got changed from 5% healing up to 8% of his max HP, I'm pretty sure it is, and therefore this is actually a lot bigger than I originally thought, because you are maxing your Q out first on Nunu. You are going to be putting that on a pretty short cooldown in the mid to late game, and if you're spamming that ability out on champions, then the extra sustain that you get from that spell just allows you to survive a lot longer. It allows you to be a lot tankier with Nunu, and once you do start stacking some HP on him for this patch, you are definitely going to notice the amount of healing is going to be substantially better for 822. So overall, I would say that Nunu is the best tank support that you can play right now for 822. Right now, we are seeing a lot of these really strong early game junglers being played, like the Camille, the Xin Zhao, the Lee Sin, and Nunu is a pretty good pick into those champions because he does a good job at just neutralizing them in the early game. As Nunu, if you can just not allow the enemy jungler to get ahead in the early game, if you can reach the mid game and be even with the enemy jungler, then you are going to be a lot more useful than someone like a Camille or a Xin Zhao in that mid to late game. So that is going to be all for this video, guys. Those are some champions for 8.22 that I think are pretty underrated for this patch right now and do definitely deserve to be played a little bit more and should be played a little bit more for 8.22. So with that being said, if you guys did enjoy this video, then be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you have yet to already. So thanks for watching, have an awesome day, and I will see you in my next video.